Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of RE313, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called Two for Flinching, written by Hicks Chem. The Wayfaring Ghost was one of the better taverns in the Outer Rim. There was space enough for the larger species in the Greater Galactic Federation, and the menu offerings were diverse enough to ensure that no patron needed to worry that their particular nutritional needs would be missed. Combining these traits with a strict no-predation policy, enforced by the finest automated laser turrets available to the commercial market, the tavern never found itself lacking in business. Today was no different. A gathering of Geiger was seated around a table, sharing a platter of slitherine fish, while nearby a lone Thoil nursed 3 different drinks with 3 different mouths, all the while arguing with itself quietly. The proprietor, a tall Cadian who went by Bob, a name selected because nearly every species in the sector could usually pronounce it well enough to get his attention, stood wiping out several glasses at the bar during a lull in the orders. A low rumble moved through the floor, followed by another, slightly harder. By the third rumble, Bob had reached under the bar and flipped the cover on a hidden switch. He couldn't see it, but he could feel the words under his fingertips. Press in case of ROG attack. The general sorceress of the bar died to a heavy silence. Every patron knew the sound of ROG footsteps. The only thing to do now was to wait and see if the ROG came for food or violence. The dusty light filtering through the doorway was shoved aside by a massive bulb as the thudding steps came closer. Bob took a deep breath and steeled himself. The door swung open with a massive hand behind it, a towering creature stepping inside, clad in scorched ROG battle armor. The more observant of the patrons noted the insignia on the chest. This was a Hyperion, one of the ROG elite guard. Bob silently wondered if his auto-turrets would be enough. The ROG cast his gaze around at the patrons, all of whom were watching him with a mixture of fear and awe. Spotting the bartender, the ROG released his grip on the door and lumbered forward, stooping under the light fixtures as he moved. He stopped at the bar, placing both hands on the rail. He groaned in protest under his weight, and he leaned forward and looked at Bob in the eye. Bob, his finger still on the button, spoke calmly. "What'll it be?" The ROG lifted himself to his full height, his armor plates grinding against each other. As he went, "Feist!" he roared. Bob removed his finger from the button and flipped the cover closed. "In fact, a feast for everyone here!" The patrons visibly relaxed. The ROG may be a terrifying species to behold, and a Hyperion even more so, but a ROG declaring feast held to their honor and harmed none while breaking bread. If there was no deadlier place than across the battlefield from a ROG, there was no safer place than across the dinner table. Bob quickly tapped a series of commands in a nearby console, and the kitchen set about making delicacies for every species currently in the bar. "You have a name, friend?" Bob asked. "Call me Rocky," came the reply. "Not exactly a traditional name for a ROG, is it?" Rocky chuckled. "Not exactly. No, it actually is a name I got from a group of humans I met." "Humans? Never heard of them. They're from this sector." "Oh, they're pretty new to the galaxy, actually. I think they only managed FTL maybe a few rotations ago. Barely 2 of their generations, by my understanding of their lifespans." "So how did they give you a new name?" "Well, turns out they give these names to people they like. See, they've got personal names like you or me. They've got family names just like Geeka over there, for legal purposes. Most humans go by those 2 names, personal and familial. But unofficially, humans can earn additional names from inside their own social cluster. It's all very complex, but in any case, they gave me one." "Mind if I ask how you accomplished that from a new species?" "Oh yeah, they gave it to me after the ceasefire." The noise of the bar that had crept back in over the generous feast stopped suddenly. Everyone was listening now. Bob looked confused. "Did you say ceasefire?" Rocky nodded, grabbing a handful of bulgur nuts from the tray that was zipping by. "Oh yeah," he said. Through the crunch, On Terra Hellworld, we were celebrating a truce our people had struck. Rocky pulled up one of the larger chairs in the establishment and sat down. The other patrons had dropped all pretense of keeping it to themselves and gathered around. Even the self-arguing Thoil focused all three of its intentions on Rocky. Okay, I can say this is going to be a storytelling. Rocky tapped his forearm rapidly, and his armor panels disengaged and pulled away, letting him relax a bit more. One of the panels stuck, grinding against the housing. He punched it hard, then manually shoved the plate away. They really did some damage there. So, let me start at the beginning. My squadron and I were aboard one of the battle cruisers. There was a newly discovered world with lots of resources, and, from our understanding, a weak and fledgling race called humans. We were dispatched to harvest these resources. We entered their space, deciphered their linguistic patterns of their communications, and sent our own message down to them. It was the usual stand-aside and nobody will be armed kind of message. We targeted dropships all over their planet, thinking that it would be just a simple harvest. No battles to be had, no heroes to be made. The first wave of ships was obliterated as they fell. These creatures had unleashed uncontrolled fission bombs in their own atmosphere to destroy our ships. Thousands upon thousands of our warriors were vaporized in the holy fires of first blood. We sent everyone we had to overwhelm their defenses. And we activated our counter-defenses to ensure that no more of their missiles would reach our ships. First blood is an honor, but to allow it to go unanswered is insane. Our ships landed across their little world, and our fighters poured forth. These humans were amazing. They answered with everything from trained military units with assault weapons and more bombs all the way down to rocks and sticks. At every step of the march, we had to pay a toll to these mad little creatures. I heard reports of one of our scouts being set upon by half a dozen of them. They used lengths of metal to pry armor plates off him and rip him from it. I'm told his screams were legendary. Their weapons were nowhere near our own, but they still fought with all the savagery of an ancient beasts of our own world. It was magnificent to behold. For 6 local weeks we pushed and pushed at them. They pushed back, solidifying their lines, ceasing their internal squabbling and focusing ever more intently upon us. At the start of the 7th week, the advances stalled on every front. On every turn we were blocked. We could not push them any further, and when we stalled our advance, they attacked with a new fury. Our momentary hesitation had signaled to them that we could be broken. We threw everything we could back just to dig in. For the first time in our species' living history, we had come to a stalemate. Our leaders called for a talk with their leaders. Their United Nations spoke with our war leaders, and together we came to an accord. We would withdraw from their world and seek no resources, and in turn they would seek no ongoing conflict. We would come to work together. We would redirect our need to fight towards less permanent forms of destruction. They showed us their many sports like boxing and football and rugby, and we taught them about grab punching, space diving and dodge asteroid. We put away our weapons and gathered together all over the world to celebrate this newfound alliance. I sat with a group of soldiers in the western area of the continent called North America, and they taught me the game that seemed to explain to me the entirety of their approach to combat. One soldier stood before me, raised his fist, and swung at my shoulder, but stopped before connecting. I, like any trained warrior, moved reflexively to block the blow, but missed because he didn't connect. He smiled at me and swung again, connecting harmlessly with my shoulder plate, then hit me again and said, "Toe for flinching." It was then that I learned the most important lesson when dealing with humans. Whatever you do, don't falter. They will respect you as equals of your old firm. I think they respect the ability to take the full force of their attack without the need to defend, as though you trust them as a friend. End of story. I would like to thank our T5 members and patrons, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Vidmori, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.